What you fixin' DIYers? It's Walker with DIWHY.LIFE, and in this episode we are going to be fixing some stick drift in this PS4 DualShock controller. And as a bonus, I'm going to show you how I bricked this controller. Hey, where you going?
So we got the drifting controller here, so what do you have to do to make it drift?
So all you have to do is just use your right joystick and it'll start drifting.
You're not even touching it, are you?
Nope.
Alright, so you just started using this PS4 controller for Apex Legends. Why are you doing that?
Well, there's a trade-off between movement in this game versus your aim, and honestly aim is so much better, so I've been using a controller to make up for that.
Okay, so alright, let's see if we can fix this drift on this right controller stick here.
Before we get started, I want to send a shout out to iFixIt and thank them for sponsoring this video. If you go to IFixIt.com in the month of May, you're going to get 20% off all toolkits. Okay, here's the controller we're going to be doing the correction on. It's the right stick that's been giving us problems. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get some Q-tips and some rubbing alcohol. The higher the percentage, the better. We're going to use our IFixIt tech mat here to do some work on. We're also going to use the 00 IFixIt Plus driver. We're going to use the splonger, the pry tool, and the tweezers just for the heck of it. Okay, so first thing you want to do is going to locate the 4 screws on the back of the controller and remove those with your screwdriver. Remember, as you remove your screws, to put them in the handy trays at the top of the mat. That's what they're there for, kids. Now you're going to use your pry tool to work it into the edge of the controller to try and get this thing apart like some kind of smelly clam you're planning to eat for dinner. It takes a little bit of work, but eventually it'll start to come apart on you, and then you can separate the two halves. Now be careful, there isn't a ribbon connector connecting the two pieces together, so you don't want to go ripping this thing apart. Very carefully reach in there and grab the little blue tab on the ribbon and pull it out of the socket. Just like that, super easy. Now what you really don't want to do is use your pliers and pull off the sleeve for the ribbon connector, which I did on this controller, which bricked it, so don't do that. Now I have to admit, I was a little upset at myself for breaking this controller and basically breaking it. However, that is kind of the nature of DIY fixing. You don't always succeed, and you probably are going to break things, and that's totally okay. It's totally okay as long as you learn something every time you do it. And, you know, yes, this controller doesn't work anymore, but I was able to harvest a battery out of this. When I was performing the same procedure on another controller, I knew in the back of my mind that I had the parts from this controller. There's always a plus side to every mistake and every mess up that you do. So I want to let you know, just hang in there. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to break things. I mean, honestly, you can't truly break something that you're trying to fix anyways. So have fun, learn while you go. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. I'm here. We got you. That's what we all do. We support each other. Okay, moving on. The next thing we're going to want to do is remove this battery. So it's pretty easy. You just loosen the cable connector here and pull it right up. Boop. And then the battery should come right out. Some batteries are taped down and some aren't. Okay, remove the screw on this plastic protective plate here, and then the plate can come right up and out, just like that. Revealing yet another ribbon cable. Yeehaw! So pull that guy out, pretty easy, and push him down through the controller so you can pull this thing apart even further. Once the center unit is isolated from the top unit, flip her over, and we have access to our control knobs. These things pull off pretty quickly, just like that. And then you've got the stick actuators, and they are found inside these little doors. If you pry at these little doors, they'll hinge open. You don't want to break these things off, you just want to pry them open just enough to get the little sensor that's inside out. Be very careful with this thing. It's pretty delicate. There's some thin wires on it. You don't want to mess those up. And then what you want to do is dip your Q-tip in some rubbing alcohol and work it around in that slot where the stick actuator came from. the sensor came from. Just get in there, get it good. And this one really wasn't quite as dirty as I was hoping. And then you're going to want to put the little sensor thing back in, very carefully oriented in the proper direction, just like that. And then it actually falls, it actually was easier when I did it this way. It just kind of fell down into the right position. And then push it, give it a nice push there with your thumbs, and it should give you a good snap. And just check it, make sure it still freely moves and everything's looking good. And then we'll do it to the other sensor. Each stick has two for the X and the Y, the left and the right, and the up and the down. So, yep, same thing here. I think I got a little bit more, a little bit more stuff out of that one. So go ahead and put this one back in. And this one gave me a little bit more trouble. I had to come at it at a different direction, but eventually I got that nice snap right there, and it tells me that it's in. And I'll give it a little check, and yep, everything seems to be moving and functioning. Now, while I have the whole thing pulled apart, it's a good idea to give the whole thing a nice cleaning, maybe get some canned air involved, blow out any stuff that's stuck in the controller. And then you've also got Q-tips with rubbing alcohol, so just rubbing all the contacts and cleaning any gunk that you might see on the controller while it's apart is, not a bad idea. Okay, so we can put this stick back on, and it just pops right back on just like that. And now we just put the whole thing back together again, cross our fingers and hope that it powers up. Okay, put the front face back on, flip it over. And then you're going to want to use your tweezers and grab that ribbon cable, pull it back through the hole whence it came, and then very carefully reinsert the ribbon cable back into its connector. Yes. And then we'll put our plastic plate back on and the screw. And when I put the screws in the tray, I always like to go from right to left, so that when I'm putting the thing back together, I go left to right, and I know what screw goes in what hole. All right, so next thing, you want to put your battery back on, connect the connector. Pretty easy. And then we got our ribbon cable here that needs to get reinserted. Give it a little wiggle back and forth and make sure it's seated all the way down. And we can close this thing up just like that. And then we can put our 4 screws back into the bottom and power it up and see if it powers up. Yep, we got a flashing light, so we are good to go. Also, you may want to just use some iFixIt screensaver and clean the exterior of the controller. This thing gets pretty grimy when you're gaming with Cheetos and what have you, so not a bad idea either. Now we can hand this thing back to my son and see if the stick still drifts.
Looks like it's working.
Lights up, that's a good sign.
Okay, we have the cursor works. Let's try going again. Seems to work. Yeah, I don't see any error.
It's not drifting on you anymore?
No, it's not.
All right.
That was so bad.
Well, it's game over for this video. If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions about fixing stick drift in a PS4 DualShock controller, please leave them below. And we'll see you next time. Dang it! Oopsie.